1, 2, 3, 4. All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy, and today we have a very special guest, one of our favorite new artists coming out of the Texas scene, Graycie York. Appreciate you coming on, Graycie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the first song I heard of yours, I kind of go down the rabbit hole on Spotify sometimes with like artists of people that I listen to regularly, and I think the first one I heard was "Without Me," and I think the line that struck me, that I think I tweeted it at the time, was like about if you take another shot of whiskey, maybe you realize how much you miss me. I really loved that. So I was like, I got to dig in more into her music. I did. I liked what I heard. So me and the guys talked about it. We wanted to have you on. So like I said, we appreciate you coming on.
That's crazy that you heard "Without Me" for the first one. That's one of my it's slowly growing because it just got added to the Texas Music Now playlist. But that's crazy. I'm glad. That's a good thing. So.
Yeah, for sure. I have a tendency to, I think, pick random songs, not necessarily the most popular, whenever I click on a new artist in Spotify. So I think that may have been how I did it. I just was like, oh, this sounds like a cool title. So I went with it. But so I guess first thing I wanted to know was like, because you're I think you just were out of high school, last year?
Yeah, I will be 19 in couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah. So I knew that you hadn't put out a ton of music yet, but you had just put out your first single in 2020 was Patsy Cline. Mm-hmm. And I want to know what the background on that song is, because I really like that song. I'm a sucker for bummer jams. So anytime, as American Aquarium likes to say, sad songs make me happy. So yes. I think I've enjoyed a lot of your music because of that.
Yeah. Well, so I love Patsy Cline, and I am like an old country soul at heart. I grew up listening to classic country songs, and when I heard Patsy Cline, it just instantly struck me, and I was like, I love that woman. I love her sound. I love her songs, all of it. And so, I can even remember the first time I ever heard her song was in my grandparents' truck, and my Nana was singing along, looking out the window, and I was like, who is this on the radio right now? And I don't know. I never thought of myself as a songwriter until I went to Nashville and toured a bunch of museums of the classic country people and how they got started. And I was putting too much pressure on myself to try to write songs like other people. But then I sat down and I was like, I'm just going to write something that I love, something that I want to write about. And I was just like, I love Patsy Cline, and I think that it could be something cool to write about. And so I sat down and I wrote that song, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can be a songwriter. And I played it for my parents, and they were like, we didn't know you could do that. And I was like, neither did I. Neither did I.
So you're telling me that was the first song you ever wrote?
Yeah, the first full. I'd always kind of thrown ideas out there, and nothing. There was never a full song. Yeah, but that was the first full song that I ever wrote.
Well, I can say that's impressive, because you can ask Andy about when we were in college. The first song I ever wrote was called Whiskey, Women, and Cigarettes, and it was awful.
Whiskey, Women, and Cigarettes?
Yeah. I just thought it sounded cool, and I just bought a guitar, and I was just like, I had been writing lyrics and not knowing how to play an instrument at all at the time. I think I was maybe 19 or 20, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to write this song. And then at the time, I was like, this is awesome. And I look back on it now, I was like, that really sucked.
Yeah. Most people don't ever want anybody to ever hear their first song.
Yeah, so it's impressive how good yours is.
For a first full song, yes, I'm very excited with how it turned out, and I'm grateful for that. There's definitely older voice memos of me trying to write songs, and I never play them for anybody.
Yeah.
They're allowed out of the phone because they're so bad.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Some of my voice memos are really bad, but yeah. So it's funny. You said it was a trip to Nashville. Was that a family trip, or?
It was me and my dad. I can't remember. It was in 2018, and a lot has happened since then. So I don't really remember if it was just a last minute kind of trip, because I remember not really planning it ahead too much, but I knew that we wanted to go, and we wanted to go together because we don't really take many trips, just me and my dad. And we hopped in the car and went 9 hours to Nashville, and I fell in love with it. And I, got to go to the Opry and like take a tour of the Grand Ole Opry and stand in the circle, and just that feeling alone was insane. And I was like, this is where I want to be one day. And it was just a trip, and I loved it so much. And I recently got to go back for like a day, not even full 24 hours, but I am excited to keep going back because I love it.
Oh yeah, Nashville is a fun town because me and Andy and a couple of our buddies, before a couple of them ended up getting married, and it made it a little more difficult for us to have guys trips. We used to take like one or two trips a year somewhere different. So we flew out to Nashville and had a blast out there. Went to the Ryman, and that was just such a cool experience because I've loved country music my whole life. I was that weird kid growing up that loved country before I loved rock and roll, and because going to see all the history, like being able to take the Ryman tour, all that stuff. I want to go back someday and go to the Hall of Fame because we didn't get to do that because we were still trying to balance the cool like country music history with also like the guys trip aspect of it. So we spent a little bit more time at the honky tonks than we did going to the museums and everything. Yeah. But it's definitely a really cool town.
The Country Hall of Fame is incredible, and you definitely need to go see it. We went and saw it, and it's just like the history behind so many things you wouldn't even expect half of like what they are, and it's so cool to see and so inspiring for especially an artist. And
oh yeah, I'm sure, because it seems like lately, out of the Texas scene in particular, there have been like more of an easier way of getting into like playing at the Opry, like because it seems like as the Texas scene has grown over the last like 20 years, they're starting to get more attention from like mainstream stuff. Because I know that like Parker McCollum recently had his Opry debut, so like I'm sure that's probably a goal of yours one day would be able to play the Opry, and I think you definitely got a shot at doing that. So like why do you think it is that Texas music is starting to get a little bit more recognition now versus, I guess, years ago?
I mean, I've been asked this question multiple times, and I honestly have no idea how to answer it. There's just something about people are loving the Texas scene. I guess because it's more of like a country sound. I don't know. It's a mixture of everything. There's, the rock side, there's Southern rock, there's everything mixed.
There's the co-Wetzel sound.
Yeah, whatever that is. It's literally just the co-sound. But I don't know. I feel like in Nashville, there's like the Nashville sound, and a lot of people don't necessarily like the Nashville sound now because it's more like pop is what people say. And I don't know. I guess people are just leaning more towards the Texas scene because it is sticking to like traditional country sound mixed with like, I don't know, rock. And it's a great scene for sure. There's so much talent here, and I'm so grateful to be a part of what's growing. But I think that, I don't know, it's hard to answer that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh, it's just happening.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Like, I think you probably are spot on with that, because especially in the era we're living in with like streaming services and social media, it's made it, I guess, the accessibility is more there than it used to be. Whereas, do I know?
TikTok
is
a huge difference in music for sure. I know off the top of my head, Kat Hasty, she's huge on TikTok, and her songs have gained so many streams from TikTok alone. And so definitely TikTok has made Texas country like a huge thing, because I see it pop up on my timeline all the time. I'm just scrolling through and I'm like, oh, there's Parker. Oh, there's Scott. It's just like, okay.
It's funny like that's become such a big thing, because like I'm 27, so it's like I'm on just the outside of like being like before TikTok. It wasn't really a thing when I was in college, and so it's like I'm not on TikTok. I don't know much about it other than just seeing the repost on Instagram. But it's like I have heard that that's been a major thing recently, because like I remember when I first started following Kat, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, she had like 3,000, 5,000 followers, something like that. Now she's around like 40,000, and she just blew up like that. And like you were saying, I've been hearing that TikTok was a big thing, that it just kept getting more and more streams.
It's huge people just cling to songs that they find on TikTok, and it's crazy what a difference it can make. Like some artists can go from literally being a no-name artist to overnight being like, oh, I have 1 million streams on my song just because of TikTok. And that's actually wild. My TikTok is not doing that great, but that's okay. We're going to keep going.
Oh, yeah. Keep plugging along.
Yeah. Hopefully one of these days.
Yeah, I wish that we could offer you some TikTok tips, but Andy and I know literally next to nothing about it. So.
I've never been on it a day in my life.
I don't recommend because you get sucked in for whatever reason. It just is very addicting, and I'm not proud of the fact that I'm on TikTok as many hours in the day as I am.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Twitter. Like, I remember when Twitter first got really big, and like I was just like, I resisted it for a little bit. I was on it, but I wasn't like on it a lot. Now I feel like anytime I'm not working or watching TV or something, I'm sitting there like scrolling through the Country and Cold Can's Twitter, just like liking stuff and responding to things. And I'm just like, good Lord, this is consuming a lot of my free time now.
Yeah, same with me. I love Twitter. And Twitter's just funny. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah, I was talking with a buddy at work about how like there's a hierarchy of where things get news gets broken. Like first is Reddit, and then it's like after it's on Reddit, it goes to Twitter, then it's on Instagram, and then by the time it gets to like we're seeing 2 months later, our parents are sharing memes on Facebook that we had already seen 2 months ago.
Like I saw that mom thinks you're late.
So yeah, so talking about like your sound specifically, I always like to ask the artist before I like talk about it. How do you describe your sound? Like, what is the Graycie York sound?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I've gotten that question also. Somebody asked me that when I first started this whole thing, and they're like, what's your sound? And I was like, I don't know. I think it's probably like a mix of country with Southern rock in certain, especially my new single that I just released. It's more on the Southern rock side, and maybe a mix of like Americana.
Yeah,
I saw some Americana reference to my music the other day, and I was like, oh, that's the first time I got that, but I'll take it. Like, it's fine with me. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a mix of a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of the best music is like, I know it's like to my ear, a lot of like your EP was definitely what I call just like country music. Like it's not pop country. It's not like hard in any other genre like rock or anything. It's just like good old country music. But then like I heard your new single and I was just like, the guitar tone and everything, I was just like, this has a little bit more of a rock edge than the previous stuff. I really liked it. I was like, didn't know if that was like conscious or if that was just kind of how it happened in the studio.
I knew going into making the EP, I wanted it to be just country because I wanted to stick to that. And, that was me at the time. And now that I'm, growing and doing this whole thing, and I've been doing it for a little bit longer than I was then, I was like, you know what? I think it's time to step out. I want to do something different. And there's always been like a Southern rock side to me because of my dad.
Right.
And, he had hair bands and, he loves Pearl Jam and Nirvana and all these bands. And so I was like, I love that. And I just love when women do it because I think it's like I just make a badass out of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And not that I am one, but it makes me feel like one when I have a song like that. And so I did that song. I took it to my producer and I was like, listen, here's what we're going to do. And I know that you're going to love it because he's my drummer too. And he's one of my best friends. And we just sat in the studio and we got it done. And we were like, yes, this is the difference that we needed. And because I think Texas Rain was a little bit different too.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a good transition into Drag Me Down. And I'm really happy with how it came out. And I definitely want to do more songs with the more Southern rock feel because they're just fun to play live too. And everybody just gets in the vibes and I just love it. So.
Yeah, I know. I definitely agree. Like you were talking about when you released your cover of Texas Rain, fantastic song, by the way. Me and Andy are huge fans of that. And we really like that your version of it incorporated from a female perspective because like, obviously we've all like heard the song and it's a great song, but it was cool to hear that twist in it of like just it coming from a different perspective. But I definitely agree that like, from the EP to Texas Rain had a little bit more of a rock elements in it, but then like that was a good bridge between that and Drag Me Down because Drag Me Down was definitely had more of a rock sound to it than your previous stuff. But I liked that your newer music, I guess the sophomore follow up in some ways to your EP was not just like the exact same sound because one things we've always appreciated about like bands like American Aquarium or in the mainstream like Eric Church, whether or not it always turns out, great, they do something different each time. And I think I have an appreciation for that, just kind of like flexing the creative muscles a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun to get to be a part of and to get to be in the studio and do. There's just like videos of me sitting in the studio when Tyler's back there like recording the drums and he's just hitting it, and I'm like, yes, like this is gonna be so good. And I purposely didn't show my parents because I was like, I don't want you to hear this until I am 100% ready to submit the song into TuneCore and like get it uploaded. And so I waited for a while and then I played it for them and they just were like over the moon about it and they loved it. And my dad, especially, he was like, this is amazing. Like, I love this so much. And so I was so excited that they felt that way. And because that's how I feel. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a fantastic song. I love the sound of it. I kind of almost liken it to, and I think he's around your age, but it's almost like similar how like Colby Cooper has been able to kind of have that blend of like country and rock. That is like, I really dig that. The older I've gotten, the more I tend to gravitate more towards like the country rock blend. And I think that's what Texas music in general has kind of like what drew me to it was because of that. Like there is a history of that good blend of country and rock. So I think you nailed it with that. So I may be mistaken, but didn't you say you've done some co-writing with Colby Cooper?
Yes, we got together. It's been about a month, I think. And I went over to his house and we got to sit down and write a song together. And we're going to continue that. We're going to get together, obviously, some more and write some more. But we wrote one called Whiskey. And I posted a snippet on my Twitter, and everybody seemed to really like it. And granted, Colby has a great following, so when he retweeted it, the retweets started coming in a little bit faster. So for that, but it went really well, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I'm excited to get together and write with them again because we're very similar people, same hair length, it seems, and. Except he's married, has 2 kids, and I'm definitely not anywhere near that.
Right.
But he's great. It went really well, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that I think I did hear, I couldn't remember the name of it, so I'm glad you said that Whiskey. But yeah, I heard that and I really liked it because it caught my eye when you said you co-wrote it with Colby because Andy and I are both big fans of his. And I know how much a boost from someone with a big following when they retweet it because Parker McCollum has retweeted us 2 or 3 times. And every time he does, like, good Lord, my phone won't, like, I almost have to cut the notifications off because that guy's got such a big following that it just, like, I end up, it's just all the time going one after the other.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the Texas country artists that is just going up and up and up, and there's no stopping him right now. And I'm so excited. And him and Zach Bryan, like, they're just, the fact that they've even gotten to the Grand Ole Opry is like mind blowing, and I'm so excited for them and for Texas music because that's great. It's exciting.
Yeah. So, who are some of your favorite artists that you like, current day artists in the Texas scene?
That's a good question, and especially because like a lot of them are my friends. So it's like really, that's what's weird is that I'm friends with all of the ones that I like loved and have idolized for a long time. So like Caitlin Butts, I love Caitlin Butts with everything that I have. And just, she's amazing. And Holly Beth, I don't know if y'all have heard of her, but she's one of my good friends. She's incredible. If you like the country rock sound, definitely check her out.
All right.
Morgan Wade, I'm saying like all females right now, but they're killing it. Who else? I love Colby. Corey Kent is also great. He is great. Fantastic songwriter.
Yeah.
He has a great voice as well. I don't know. You really can't go wrong in the Texas scene. Like any answer that anybody would give you, just be like, yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
There's so much talent in this scene. It's unreal.
Oh, no, it definitely is. Like you mentioned Morgan Wade, like we're all big fans of hers. Like that debut record she put out, Reckless, was amazing. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see. I hate that I'm going to miss they're not coming anywhere near here, but that she's opening for American Aquarium, and I hate that she's not on support for the shows that are closer to North Carolina. But so when you released your stuff in 2020, I know that you probably had plans to tour behind that, probably more than you got to. How did last year's I guess circumstances affect the way you approached it, like just starting out as an artist?
Yeah, it was, at the time I was like, why is this happening? Like, this is so stupid. I can't believe I just started this career and I don't even get to go play shows. But honestly, it was a good time for me to have that kind of break, because I'm definitely not getting one now. And I had plenty of time to like sit down and write songs and, figure out what I wanted to do with my career and who I wanted to be as a person and as an artist. And so I think there was good positives to the whole thing. And I got to play a couple shows here and there during last year. But I think that, for whatever reason, it was good for me, because I just got to sit and write my songs and make connections through social media and like live streaming and stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do. And so I don't know. I think that it wasn't all terrible. Now, do I wish that it wouldn't have happened? Of course. But there was definitely a lot of positives that came out of it.
Yeah.
What's it like being a new, like an artist that's so like young, I guess? Like, obviously you don't know what it's like to be, older, but to me, that seems like it'd be something to be like quite a bit different, I guess.
I mean, it's really not that different. Thankfully, everybody in the scene doesn't treat me as a young artist. They just treat me as a friend or as a sister or as a, just whatever. And they've all been just so great and supportive. And because, I mean, Colby Cooper, for example, he started this when he was my age. I mean, even younger. We both started it around the same time. And he's doing, obviously, very great for himself. And so they thankfully, like, they don't treat me any different. They're like, you make good music? Okay, you're in. So I'm thankful for that for sure. But it's definitely, I was going into it a little hesitant. I was like, oh, they're not gonna like me because I'm young, and they're gonna think that I don't know anything. And but they've been great.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about the Texas scene, though, is like it seems from an outsider's point of view, from someone who lives thousands of miles away, it seems like it's kind of has a kind of a family kind of vibe to it, more so than a lot of things do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely one big family for sure. And everybody that I'm friends with now is just, they're my family. There's no denying that. We hang out, outside of shows if we don't have shows, or we go surprise each other at shows, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm so thankful for it. It's a great group of people.
Oh yeah.
It's always cool how like tight knit everything is in Texas. Like that, did you get, like you were saying too, like that you're friends with all the people that, like, a lot of the people you looked up to. Like, to me, I feel like a lot of places, like music scenes and stuff, it's just not like that. It's just not such like a close knit thing.
Yeah, for sure. There was like a time in my life when I wanted to move to Nashville, and like right out of high school, I wanted to be like, yeah, going to Nashville. Thankfully, I didn't do that because it would be 10 times harder. But I definitely agree. I think that there's just not that like family connection anywhere else. And I think that it's a great thing because it just is a lot of support from people and just uplifting of other people. So it's really,
everybody's trying to bring everybody up, not tear somebody else down to better themselves.
That's what I've said a lot about Nashville. I think Nashville is a great place for people that belong there. And if one day that's where I'm meant to be, then I'll make my way there. But I think in Nashville, it's a big pond filled with, or no, it's a tiny pond filled with a big fish. Big fish? Am I okay in the brain? I think I can't get that sentence out, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
But in Texas, there's just like not that competition. It's like people are just trying to help people and, get openers on shows and get people, played on radios and the ranch and everything. And there's not that tear down like there's in Nashville because there's so much competition out there that it's just not fun half the time, I feel like. And I mean, you can hear there's a million songs out there about how much they hate living in Nashville because it's so competition based. But yeah, I think once you make it in Nashville, I'm sure that it's the exact same way, family style, like just support. But trying to get up to making it is very difficult.
Oh yeah, and people are so talented in that town that never actually get much recognition. Because like I remember one time I've heard stories about homeless people in Nashville playing guitar and singing on the side of the street. So like it's like just from people that are playing the normal, you know, gigs at places on Lower Broadway or anything, like there's just a lot of talented people. But where I think that Texas separates itself is the songwriting aspect, because there's a lot of people that can go out there and sing incredibly well, play guitar and shred, but they are playing cover songs the whole time. To where I think that I really appreciate and I like the approach that you guys have taken in Texas, where it's like a little more independent minded and I'm going to say what I need to say kind of thing. It's kind of like the hell yeah, I'm from Texas mindset in a lot of ways.
Yes. I also love that as well. I mean, it's fun to hear how people perceive Texas music from somebody that obviously doesn't live in Texas. And I definitely agree with that, especially being an independent artist myself and being surrounded by a bunch of independent artists. It's just nice to be able to say what's on your mind without worrying if they're going to just be like, no, you can't put that out because it says blah, blah, blah. It's really nice.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm sure. So you mentioned like people in Texas helping out, you know, getting on opening slots. Like who are some of your favorite people you've gotten to open for?
Oh, that's a good question. See, now my mind just goes blank on anybody that I've ever opened for ever. I haven't yet, but I'm really looking forward to opening for Colby because I think that's going to be a super fun show. It's happening in a couple weeks, and I'm very excited about it. Who have I opened for? I can't even think about people that I've opened for, but everybody that I've opened for has honestly been so nice and so welcoming and just a fun time. So I can't complain for sure.
Yeah. So talk about venues then. Like, do you have any favorite venues so far that you've gotten to play?
Yes. I just told somebody this the other day and now I'm drawing blank. I swear my mind just like goes completely numb when you ask questions. Let's see. Places that I have played. There's in Fort Smith, Arkansas, when I opened for Ronnie Millsap. That was fantastic. That venue is like an old Mason's temple.
Okay.
And it is the coolest venue I've ever been in. And it just like the green room is like literally green, like bright green. And there's actually a piano up there that Parker McCollum wrote a song on. I don't know what song it was, but I was over there like playing on my keyboard, like trying to write a song too. But that was a super, super cool venue. There was another venue in Mount Bellevue, Texas, which is kind of close to Houston. It's called the Bar Whiskey Barn. And it was a tiny, tiny stage and super dark room and not even that big of a place, but just the energy. And the venue was really cool. So I think that was a lot of fun. Like we were on the back of like a John Deere tractor that had this stage attached to it and it was tiny and I don't know, but it was really, really cool.
Yeah, that does sound cool. Anytime you like it, I've been thinking about American Graham's cover record they just did. You said John Deere tractor. It just made me think of John Deere Green. Yeah. They ripped that cover. That was awesome. But yeah, so that is one of the things that I know that you're in East Texas. Is that accurate? I don't know how Texans divide things. So yeah. So like I imagine, have you had a chance to go out to like Lubbock and play the Blue Light yet?
I actually have. I loved the Blue Light. I have some family that lives up in Lubbock. Like my mom's whole side of the family lives up in the Lubbock area, and I got to play at the Blue Light, and I loved it. That's also another tiny stage, tiny venue. You don't expect to walk in there and be like, oh, this is not at all what I pictured this place being, especially because it's so like iconic in the scene. And I played at the one in Lubbock, and then I played at the Blue Light in Dallas before it shut down.
Yeah.
And so They're both super cool. I miss the one in Dallas, RIP. But yeah, the one in Lubbock is super cool. There's stickers everywhere. Like just any artist that you could think of, boom, they're there. They've been there. It's so cool. I love the Blue Light.
Yeah, that's one place that Andy and I have talked about. We it's funny when we tell people like, yeah, we want to take a trip out to Lubbock one day, but yeah, we do because like we had the guys from Mason and the Gen Line on here earlier, in 2020 I think it was, and they were like, yeah, man, come on out, we'll take you out to the Blue Light and everything. I was like, dude, I'm there. I was like, as soon as things travel is a little easier, and thankfully things are starting to open up now. But yeah, I definitely want to take some more trips to Texas because I've only really been to Austin, and Austin's awesome, but it's different. I've heard from a lot of Texas. So
Lubbock is an interesting choice to want to go to Texas. If you could go anywhere, you want to go to Lubbock. Okay. That's interesting because I would not want to go to Lubbock. Especially after like being there like my whole life, going to visit family and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so dry, and it's just like the drive up there is long, and there's nothing to see but windmills and dirt and an occasional tumbleweed.
I don't think I've ever actually seen one of those in real life, so I think that actually would be cool to me because we don't really have tumbleweeds in North Carolina.
It's pretty cool. I think you should see it at least once.
At least once, and then probably don't need to see it a second.
Yeah.
They can tear up your car.
After you see the first one, your opinion changes to the same as hers.
Yes. After you see Lubbock, you'll get it. Everybody that's lived there loves it. I love Lubbock, but just it's a lot. It's just,
yeah.
There's a dog.
Yeah, that's Bella. She's been my dog since college, so I think she's about to turn 8 now. But once in a while, she likes to try to jump in the frame whenever she sees I'm talking to people. So
she just wants to say hey.
Yeah, she's a good dog, but yeah, I mean, I've heard that. I mean, I'm sure that it would be like if people were coming to North Carolina and they want to go certain places, and I'm going to be like there's a town I've heard people say that, yeah, I've heard Greenville's a lot of fun to go party at. The people that live like in other areas in North Carolina, I'm like, yeah, but once you've been there a few times, I mean, it's fine, but it's not a destination by any means. So.
Yeah. I feel about Lubbock because it's a little rough, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Still love it.
So if you could play with any 2 artists, alive or dead, who would they be?
Patsy Cline, obviously. I love that woman. And Chris Stapleton.
Okay.
I love Chris Stapleton. He just is so cool in the most nonchalant way. I don't like, he's Chris Stapleton. I don't know. His voice is insane.
It really
His songwriting is insane. And he dresses cool, and he just looks like he'd be funny.
Oh yeah.
And so
what's your favorite like thing that he's done, like band or solo, or what's your favorite version of Chris Stapleton?
This last album that he just put out is incredible. Any album that he's put out is incredible. It's hard to pick between a favorite album of his, but definitely his like solo stuff is my favorite. I know that he was in a band before he was solo, and which that band was great too because obviously he's in it. And but yeah, I just think that solo Chris Stapleton is insane because he does stuff like You Should Probably Leave, and he's had that song for 8+ years just in the back of the drawer, like it's no big deal, and that song is fantastic. And it's like, what else does he have just up his sleeve?
I know that guy's got such an incredible treasure trove. I can't talk. Treasure trove of songs just to pull from, because like the amount of incredible songs that he himself has written, that he's written for other artists, like you just, up until he became Chris Stapleton, like you would hear him on background vocals on so many songs and having a songwriter credit on so many songs that you just didn't realize who he was. And then after that big moment he had on the CMAs with Justin Timberlake, he just kind of like, it was like to the moon. I mean, it was like he exploded.
Yeah, that's when I remember that exact moment, seeing him on that, and me, my mom, my dad were like, who is that man? Where can we find him? We're obsessed with him. And ever since then, like he's been one of my favorites for sure. Yeah,
definitely a generational voice. Because I was telling one of my buddies the other day, I was like, how easy it is for him to sing is just incredible. Because like you watch a lot of artists and they'll be good singers, but you can tell that it's like they're putting a lot of effort into it. That guy just gets up there and can blow almost anyone out of the water, and it just looks like he's doing it nonchalantly.
Exactly, and that's what I'm just like. Must be nice, dude. Can you teach me your ways?
Yeah,
and it takes a lot for an artist to take a song that's already incredible and so iconic and make it even more. Like what he did with Tennessee Whiskey. Like people half the time don't even know that that's not even his song.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy to me. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Just do that. Have fun.
Yeah, I know that I encountered that with so like outside of Andy and Kyle, who's normally on this show with us, we have a lot of friends that they like country music, but they prefer like more modern mainstream versions of it. And then, like I said, I've been a big country fan my whole life. So it was like, I remember we got into an argument with one of my friends one time because he was like, said that the George Jones and David Allan Coe version sucked. And I was just like, look, man, I said, I get it. Chris Stapleton's version is fantastic. But I said, you can't say that. I was like, that's ridiculous. I said, you're talking about Dak and arguably one of the greatest voices of all time with the possum. So
you're crossing the line.
Yeah. But so do you have any like timeline? And obviously you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but do you have any timeline for like a full length record or a new EP coming out?
So I've been going back and forth because there's been a lot of stuff happening in my life recently, and I don't know. I've been going so back and forth if I want to just do another EP or if I want to do a full length album. I know for sure that I want to do singles because singles tend to do a little bit better than EPs. But for sure the singles, and then we're just gonna go with whatever happens because I don't know yet. But hopefully, I don't know. It's not gonna be like too much longer until at least like an EP or a full length album.
Yeah.
I don't know the specific timeline.
I definitely understand what you mean though, because like in the era of streaming, like I mean, you have to look at kind of like what even Drake has done in his career. Like with everything being so accessible now on streaming, like it almost makes more business sense to do singles rather than putting out not putting anything out and then just putting out a record. But I will say the old soul in me is a little bit. I kind of wish that we get more records than we do, but I understand it. You know, it's art, but it's also a business, so you have to kind of figure out the best way to walk that line. You know, as an artist.
It's also expensive to do full length albums. I will tell you that.
That's true.
But I definitely, I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow, kind of just writing more and excuse me, sorry, my cat. She was parents as well. But yeah, it's expensive, but I definitely want it to happen pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. But I'll say that if whenever you're playing up in North Carolina, we'll definitely be there. So I'm looking forward to watching your career and hearing new music. So
thank you, thanks. Yeah, hopefully I'll get up to North Carolina pretty soon.
Oh yeah. So Andy, do you have anything else you want to touch on while we still have her?
No, that's all I can come up right now. Sure, I'll come up with something as soon as we cut the mics off.
It almost always happens, Graycie. Every time we stop recording, we're just like, oh my God, I should have asked that. But well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on. It was a good time, and like I said, I'm a fan of your music. I'm looking forward to watching your career. So
thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. This was a good time.
Yeah. So if you want to plug your website or Twitter or anything, now's the time to do it.
So my website is just gracieyork.com. I have my merch website up there as well. My Twitter is, I think it's G York Music. I don't know, but you can just search up my name and it'll pop up. Same with my Instagram, it's just Graycie York, and Spotify obviously is just my name. So.
Sounds good. Well, like I said, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So for this episode of Country in Cold Cans, I'm Logan sitting here with Andy, and this week, Graycie York. We'll see you next time.